Morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Caffeinate Your Career. Today's topic, ghosts of interviews past. I'm your host, the career coach with the most, Jason Hopper. With me today is the lively Liz Latson. Liz, welcome to Caffeinate Your Career.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. I work here at JFS with Jason. I get the great pleasure. I work in our older adults department where I help people age in place. I administrate our home delivered meals program and also volunteers for the friendly visitor program and do some case management.
Yes.
So I'm really thrilled to be here and talk about ghosts of interviews past. But you're the professional.
Yes.
Has there ever been a time when you've tanked an interview?
Yeah. Actually, a couple of different times. All right. So we are live. I can see there's at least one person watching live. If you're watching live and you have any questions or comments for me and or Liz, let us know. Yes, Liz, interviewing's hard.
Yeah.
It's a hard gig. It's a grind. And yeah, we were at lunch and you asked me that question. Is there any interviews that you just tanked? And I was like, And then I had to think about it. And then after I started thinking about it, I was like, yeah, there's been a couple of interviews that I just tanked. And wouldn't that be an interesting topic for the live stream? And this is how we ended up here today. Thank you so much again for being here. So that's what we're going to do today. Liz and I are going to tell stories about bad interviews that we've been on and or friends or family have experienced over the years. I think the first interview that I just tanked and didn't do well on was actually my first professional interview.
Really?
Yeah. I had a job previously, like when I was like a teenager, like bagging groceries at the local grocery store. But this is like, now I'm like 17, 18, just graduated school. And my friend, she had gotten a job, an office job for the summer before she went off to college through a staffing company. And she told the recruiter, "Oh my gosh, I have somebody that would be great for you." And she's like, "He's super funny and he's really energetic." And so she set it up with her recruiter at the staffing company. He calls me for the interview, and I call my friend and I tell her, "Oh my gosh, this guy called and I got the interview." And she goes, "Okay, now let me tell you, Jason, you need to dress up. You need to wear maybe a suit, definitely like you would dress for church. You need to wear a tie, and you need to be prepared when you go in. Don't make me look foolish because I was the one that recommended you, right?"
Right.
So what did I do?
What did you do?
I walked in jeans and a polo shirt.
Oh, and how'd that work out?
Not real well, because this is the early 90s, and back then in the early 90s, everything was suit culture, right? And I'm talking to this guy. He's sitting across the desk from me, full suit, jacket on and everything. And here I am thinking I know better than my friend, and I'm sitting there wearing, jeans and a polo shirt. Did not get the job, but the solution to that should have probably listened to my friend.
And how did it feel when you walked in, and you realized that?
I thought immediately, I've made a mistake. But I also thought, kid, you got the personality to pull this off, and you got this.
Okay.
So a little bit of cockiness on my part, and did not work out.
And how have you felt since then? Like when you went on interviews after that, did you always heed advice of the people that prepped you, or?
Probably. Just because, but also too, being young, you think that you know everything, especially when you're 18, 19, 20, you know what I mean?
Right.
Well, I don't know. I thought that, right? I don't know about you, but like when I was a kid, I did a lot of stupid stuff, and thought that I knew better than everybody else.
Yeah. And so here you are thinking about, when you tanked and you learned from the experience, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a universal like topic, because you want to do as well as you can. The stakes are so high.
Yeah.
And so I had a mistake, which was very embarrassing, which is that I cried in an interview.
You cried in the interview.
I did. And so let me set the stage that it was a great possibility for an interview. I was qualified for the job. Someone in my network worked at the company.
Okay.
And so they made the connection. So, the expectation was for me to do well. And I got in there, and I had experienced a recent loss in my family. And the interviewer said something that just triggered that loss. It was too soon. It was a month after the loss.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. And I crumbled. It was like
something, like ugly cry.
Yeah. No. I just really started weeping, and then the interviewer, who couldn't have been lovelier, was so compassionate and so sweet, but the interview was over.
Yeah, pretty much. The interview was over. It's like, all right, well, why don't you sit back down and let's continue.
Right. And so at that point, she's consoling me. And, because I came in with this mask of, yes, here are the things that I bring to this job. And, here are the strengths that I have that I could bring to your company. Mm-hmm. And here's why I'm a good fit. And then just one little thing, and I fell. And my, again, it was a great setup for me as far as if it had been a different time.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like you were qualified, knew somebody. That's like, we call it, like a dunker, right? It's a dunker. and Latson missed the layup.
I did. And it happens, it happens to everybody. And so in that case, I wish if I could go on a time machine, because it's really embarrassing to have that. And it's only years later that I can laugh about it.
Right.
Because at the time, I walked out of there thinking, how could I do that? But in reality, I should have given myself some more time and not been so quick to go out, or at least practice interviews, which I know you do practice interviews with clients, right?
We do. And that's a great segue, Liz, to the commercial for the day. We do virtual practice interviews here at Jewish Family Service. I have a program, we call it VIP Squared, Virtual Interview Practice Program. We do it every Tuesday at 1 o'clock Central. I've got 7 different people on the team, 7 different people that you can practice interview with. How it works, I will put you and the interviewer into a breakout room. They will interview you for 30 minutes. And then there will be 15 minutes of feedback. And then after that, at the end of the week, they will send me a form. I will have a form that I will send to you. So you'll have something tangible in your hand to look at, of things that you might want to improve on your interviewing skills. We are full up today. But next week, I do have 2 spots left that are open. And if you're like, oh my gosh, Jason, that sounds so exciting and I need to practice, how do I get to do that? Well, you need to email me. My email is jhopper, that's the letter J, Hopper, HOPPER, at jfsdallas.org. Put practice interview in the subject line. I'm going to need your resume and also a job title that you want to interview for. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to ChatGPT and have it query, if you're an accountant, let's say, list interview questions for an accountant position. And those are the questions that the interviewer is going to ask you. I want to make this as real as possible for you. So jhopper at jfsdallas.org. Hit me up. I expect those to go very fast. So first come, first serve. And if not, we will do it the next week and get you on the roster. So.
Right. And it's great to have something in a low stakes situation.
Right.
Because when you're walking in the room for interviewing, it's such a high stakes situation. So to have that practice.
Right. It's one of the reasons why we created the program, which is because interviewing is a skill, and the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Right.
Right. And so if you can put in some practice, You will be much better off going in when you do the real thing. So, and it's funny that you said that because like that happens sometimes a lot, or I'll get like clients that think they may be job search ready,
right,
and then they are not.
Yes.
And that's a difficult conversation to have with somebody because my intent is always to try to help somebody, but it's like also realize that job search is a mindset game. And if you don't have the right mindset going into it, it's just not going to work. Right. And just being in staffing and being a recruiter, like there were some candidates that came in and they would sit down and it's like there's a shadowy version of themselves kind of like hovering behind, and I'm like, ooh, there's some red flags there. I don't know what they might be, and then they end up crying in the interview.
Right. Which we don't recommend.
No, don't do that. By the way, I'm giving Liz a hard time, but this is a story. I know your story. Right. And I'm joking with you. Me and you are friends. Right. So if y'all are like, man, he's kind of mean to her, I'm not being mean to her.
No, we can laugh about it now.
Now we have time. Time's passed. So
right.
So I went on an interview once for a recruiter position, and so I had gotten terminated at my job.
Okay.
And then I got this interview, and I go on the interview with this recruiter, and she's asking, so why aren't you at your last position? And it was just like, I don't know, 2-3 weeks after I got terminated. So, and that turned out to work well for me. It was just not a really good environment. Like I was physically ill every morning before I went into work.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I got to the point where I just kind of basically stopped working. And I mean, I'd show up.
Right.
But when it's you and one other recruiter in this office, it's real obvious who's not doing the work.
Right.
Like being terminated was I was happy that it happened just because the environment was not great. And but you don't want to go into an interview saying that. Right? You don't want to go and say, well, I was sick every morning before I had to get out of it. So I had not really prepared correctly. So when the interviewer asked, so why aren't you at your last position? I was like, well, it turned out that, we just had a mutual agreement. And she's like, so you just mutually agreed that you no longer work there? And I'm like, well, and now I'm still trying to explain this, right? And in my head, as my mouth is talking and digging me deeper into a hole,
oh no!
In my head, all I could see is like a train, and it is just slowly going off the track until it finally just crashes. And at that point, I stood up, stuck out my hand to shake her hand, and she freaked out.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess like no candidate had ever entered an interview on her before.
Well, that's unusual.
It is
something that you see
not
in
usual. Yeah, and she's like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Whoa, you're not going to hire me, are you?" And she's like, "No." I'm like, "Great. Well, let's just shake hands, and I'll be on my way." And we did, and off I go. Right. So,
what would be a solution? What would you have done differently if you had to do that over again?
I should have prepared better and worked on controlling my narrative. Right. Because you don't want to go and talk bad about another employer. And again, it was being terminated was warranted, and I just didn't care.
Right.
But you can't go into saying that. So if I should have taken the time to craft my story better,
right,
so that when somebody asks, and this is something I work with clients about too, especially if they got terminated, it's like, well, what am I going to say? Well, you can use this as, I have learned. I this happened. I made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. I've learned from the mistake, and I want to move on. Or sometimes, depending on the situation, to clients, let's work on the phrasing. It's like, okay, well, what do you check that? If you said there was a change, and sometimes this is true. There was a change in management, and because of that, I no longer have a job.
Oh,
right?
okay.
That's the phrasing. That's what you say.
Mm-hmm.
What is heard is, oh, they went through a layoff, is usually what it's heard.
Mm-hmm.
And people usually don't question that. If there is a question, it will. And by the way, that is completely true.
Right.
Right? I don't know if there's a change in management, but oftentimes there is. But maybe you just screwed something up and phased yourself out of the position because you messed up.
Right.
Right? Or, oh, I'm sorry, you said there was a reorganization. That, again, we can play with the phrasing a little bit, right? So you could say, there was a reorganization in my department, and because of that, I no longer have a job. Again, then what they hear is that you were laid off.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is, you screwed something up and reorganized yourself out of that job, right? That's what happened, right? But you may not want to say that. And so that's one of the things I work on with clients and say. So that's how I should have handled that better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Liz, what about you?
Oh, I have a few more, take the interviews, stories, because they are universal and it just happens. But in this case, it was on the side of the interviewer, in that I was referred by someone in my network for a small nonprofit. This was in a different state. And so she said, I'm not really sure of what the position is, but this person is really incredible. And it was a very niche thing. And I think you'd be great. And so we had this strange interview in person. And so I gave her my resume. I gave her my my contacts. And one of my references was a vice president of human resources. So she deals with jobs and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so she called my reference and said, I'm thinking about offering Liz the job. And my friend said, well, I don't really understand what the position is. But not knowing what the position is, I would still recommend Liz. So in that case, I had someone who referred me for the job, someone who gave me the reference, and myself. All three of us didn't really understand what the job was going to be.
Yeah.
So I was offered a part-time position and declined it because I just got sort of like bad juju,
Yeah.
And so there wasn't really a way to prepare for the interview, and that they weren't, it was a small company, and so the website was kind of nebulous,
Okay. Right.
But I felt like that I was primed to want to have a position with this person, and having that experience with both the person who referred me and then the person who was my reference at the end, and myself all being so unsure about what it was, it just gave me pause about the interview process.
That's funny. What kind of questions did the interviewer ask you? Were they like just questions pertaining to what you do at your job? Or?
Well, so she asked me a lot about a position I had at the Port of Tacoma in Tacoma, Washington, and what that was like and what the operations were like. But it wasn't, so she asked me a lot about that, and then sort of questions about my family, which sometimes can be a little bit of a red flag, But she spent a little bit of time describing what she thought the future would be for the company, and how Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. So I mean, it was great to have a network and to try to land a job, and I still stay in touch with those people, and they have been a great resource for me. But it was also nice to have their advice.
Yeah.
Of thinking about things long term, because you want it to be a good fit. You've got to also think about what information you're trying to get out of the interview.
Yeah.
As well, which is again why it's great to practice.
Yeah. Yeah. It need to be great. I've been good. Well, first, let me back up. Good job for listening to your gut.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes when we get down to it, doing a really good, honest gut check
right.
is really helpful in making that decision. And I know just for me, anytime I've gone against what my gut reaction was, it was always turned out to be a catastrophe.
Right.
Right. So good job there. And I think I've been lately. I've been really big on asking or coaching clients to ask culture-based questions.
So what would be an example of like a culture-based question for an interview?
That could be something like, I am a lifelong learner, and if I decided to go and obtain a certification that would help me in this career, in this role, do you guys reimburse for that?
Okay.
Right? And if they say no, what they're telling you is they don't really want to invest in their people.
Right.
This one I love because it sounds strange, but how it's answered will tell you everything you need to know about the company, which is you ask, okay, so this is a hybrid position. I'll be working here with my team 3 days a week. The days that we are in the office, what does the team do for lunch?
Really? That's a question you ask on an interview?
You can ask that question on the interview.
Okay.
And it sounds strange, but again, how they answer will tell you everything that you need to know about this company. Also, too, they may not remember anything else about you, but they will remember that question.
Right.
So if they say, oh my gosh, Liz, you know what? We are busy and we just kind of all eat at our desks and power through lunch.
Right.
Well, the last time I checked, most places don't pay you for your lunch hour.
Right.
So now they're expecting you to work unpaid.
Right.
Also, if they're telling you they don't have time to take a pause for lunch, they could be indicating that they have burnout culture.
Right.
Now, if it goes the other way, and they go and they say, oh, sometimes we'll go out, but most of the time we just eat together in the cafeteria. Now they're telling you that they foster a team environment and they actually like each other.
Right. We enjoy lunch together here.
Yeah. You're busy. I don't see you for lunch as much, but I always do like that's how this episode show came about, is we were just talking lunch.
Well, Jason has us come together as a team, and for some reason, this side of the building, we really enjoy visiting together, and it is nice to take a break and to just have that fellowship,
hang out and talk and catch up,
and it does create a different team culture. You're right.
Yeah, it does. I mean, but also too, like me and you have other things in common, which is like we're both very high energy.
Right.
We both like craft beer.
Right.
Right.
We both have teenagers.
Right? So we can talk about how spicy our kids are at times, and we can relate. It's like, oh my god. But I would not know any of that about you if me and you didn't hang out and have lunch, or even I'm so like, if a client cancels and I just don't have anything else to do, I'll just go desk bomb people and pop up and be like, hey, what's going on? What you doing in there? Right. And I desk bomb you frequently.
Well, it's a fun environment to work here because we have so many clinicians,
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But thinking about what you are going to gain out of the job, because you're going to be there so often in that interview, getting those answers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important to ask those questions about culture so that you can better determine, do I want to work here?
Right.
In your case, like I don't even know what this job is. Like, like I'm not really sure like what I would be doing.
And I was in a good situation at the time that I had another offer sort of floating out there, and so it was a little bit easier to make that decision. Sometimes you just got to take what you take, but in that situation, I had a few things like that.
That's good. Good point. Because I think until oftentimes what will happen is it's like, oh, people will have said, we're working on that offer letter for you. This is a done deal.
Right.
And then it falls through. Right? I've seen it happen time and again.
Right.
And then what happens is you're like, cool, I'm getting an offer. And you stop looking. In your case, you did the smart thing and you kept having conversations.
Right.
I tell clients all the time, you are unemployed until your butt is in the chair day one.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Until you are actually sitting there and working, you don't have a job.
Right.
Right? I've been doing this way too long to have seen so many crazy things happen, just all the time. So, this is probably the funniest story I have.
Was that even the funniest story?
A bad interview.
Uh-oh.
So I go to interview for a recruiting position. I'm still in staffing at this point in my career. And so I'll give you the setup. I was interviewing the person I was interviewing with, her desk, there was a big window behind her desk.
Okay.
And the blinds were up and open, and there was a courtyard out back there. And so I'm sitting facing her in the window, right? And I was prepared. I was prepared for the interview. But then she threw me a curveball kind of question. And sometimes you'll get those, right?
Okay.
And so I handled it correctly. I said, let me just take a moment and think and have a thoughtful answer for you. And she goes, that's fine. And so my eyes just kind of drift just past her shoulder. And again, there's a courtyard and there's this tree out there, right? Now, in this tree happens to be a bird and a bird's nest, okay? Apparently, a squirrel ran up the tree, got too close to the bird.
Are you telling me you got distracted by a squirrel?
I got distracted by what happened next. Because what happened next was the squirrel got too close to the bird's nest, and the bird started dive bombing the squirrel. And the squirrel's running around the tree, and the bird keeps dive bombing the squirrel. And so now, all of a sudden, right? All of a sudden, the interviewer, because I'm not saying anything, I'm watching all this play out, and she goes like this. She goes to turn around and look out the window, and the bird and the squirrel are gone. They are gone, right? Because the squirrel runs away. And she looks back at me, and I'm like, did you see there was a squirrel on this bird? And I'm trying to explain, and she's looking at me like I just grew a second head. Like, what are you even talking about? And I did not get that job.
So she had no idea?
She didn't know any of that was going on behind. Trying to
this huge thing. Oh my God.
And I was trying to explain it, and she was like, what is wrong with you? So, when you're in the interview,
right,
don't get distracted.
Right. Stay focused. I'm so curious, what was the curveball question, or do you remember?
I don't recall. I don't remember what she had asked me, but it was something that I had not prepared for. And, it's guys, it's okay to say that. Can I take a quick minute to think about it? That's fine, but you have to come back. You can't be launching squirrels or anything else out the window, right? So to this day, I think it's hilarious. Not so much at the time because I tanked it.
So your solution to that is
be more focused.
Right.
Be more in the moment and present with the interviewer than looking at squirrels.
It's an important thing to be focused.
Yeah. So, what about, Liz? I think you've had like some friends or family that have had kind of crazy things that happen.
Well, I'll start with a bad interview gone good story.
Oh, that would be good. Yeah.
Which happened last summer, and it really talks about my friend's flexibility, which is, if you guys remember from May of last year, there was a power outage for about 4 days in Dallas, right?
Right. Yes.
And so my friend was interviewing for a position at a school district, and so they began the interview by flashlight because, it's a time sensitive situation.
Right.
They've got to interview because she's got to get, onboarded for the school year. And both of the people in the process, the interviewer and the interviewee, had curly hair. So they couldn't fix their hair because there was no power or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But during the interview, the power came on.
Oh.
And it ended up, because she was flexible and it was an awkward situation, they were able to work together. And so it was a kind of a bad interview gone good.
Gone good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. It's so weird when little things like that happen because, like, you don't know when the power is going to come back on, and we're doing this by flashlights. Like, they just figured it out,
Right.
and then just like luck or God or something, boom, lights are on, and
yes, and it makes for a great story. I mean,
yeah,
and I think in any other industry, they would have said, our power's out, let's wait a week. But because they had to get contracts going, in that case, it was a time-sensitive situation.
That's wild.
Yeah,
that's really crazy. That's funny though too.
Yes.
Okay. And you know a vet that had a bad interview.
Yes, I do. And so this veteran that I knew had an MBA and was on a third round interview with a very large company. And the interviewer in the third round interview said, "We don't have explosions here. How can you fit in?" So that person that told me this story decided not to accept the position because that was just really not an appropriate.
No, it was not appropriate.
And also, the person who was in the military answered, actually, I worked in a different branch and didn't have bombs, and he had nothing to do with bombs. So it was a misinformed, moment of just how the person who was interviewing could see how that type of service was perceived, and it wasn't a good fit. Again, because you're not just being interviewed to show how you're a good fit, you're also thinking about how they're a good fit for you in that process.
I think, for sure. And I think a lot of people forget that, especially like the longer the job search goes on, as they try to just jump into whatever the first offer comes along.
Right.
And I get it. I understand. You've got the fear. Right? Am I going to be able to pay my bills or my rent? And I have a child that needs food and clothes because school's got, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I understand that. And I think if you just need a job for cash flow, okay, cool, great. But continue to talk and have those conversations with people because, like, I think for sure that the way a company treats you during the interview process is real telling on how they're going to treat you as an employee. Right? And if they're kind of jerky to you in the process, they're probably not going to be a very nice employer if you get signed on.
Yeah, and I think you learn a lot in an interview. And so knowing what questions they ask you, like you talked about your being able to generate the ChatGPT questions, like being prepared for those, and everyone gives you those stock interview questions, but then they're always related to the industry. But knowing what questions you can ask of them, I mean, I think what we're saying today is be prepared.
Be prepared, but you also too, you've got to close. Right? If you don't let them know that you want to work there, you're not going to be getting the job. Right?
So what do you always say at the end of an interview?
Well, there's a couple of different ways that you can close. But the thing that you have to say is, I am interested in this position.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I walk through clients with, various methods on how to close correctly in the interview. But like a very simple close is, hey, you know what? Thank you so much for your time today. I'm interested in the position. What is the next step in this process? Right? And they will tell you, and then it's just a matter of asking them, when would you like for me to follow up with you?
Oh.
Right. It's how you phrase it, because this is your job search and you're going to own it. Because what a lot of people say is, well, when can I expect to hear back from you? I was like, that's not their job. It's your job to follow up with them. Not the other way around. You're the one that wants the job. They already have the job. And they have an open position. If you want it, you need to follow up with them, not sit around and wait and ask them. And if they don't know, well, we're not real sure. Okay, well, you know what? It's Tuesday today. If I don't hear back from you before then, I'm going to call you next Tuesday at 3. Cool?
Great.
And they will probably say, okay. And then you have to call them Tuesday at 3 next week if they don't hear back from you before then. This is just the dynamics of job search, just how it works. And a lot of people don't understand that. Or you have the awkward close, or even like when we were interviewing for Rhonda's position, right? Ron, if you're out there, how you doing? Rhonda works from home on Tuesdays. I don't get to see her in the building like I normally do. I don't like it when my team works from home.
No?
No, because I can't see them. I don't like seeing them. I like hanging out with my team. But even when we were talking and interviewing people for Rhonda's position, Rhonda, I think not only did she answer every question that we asked her, but she also closed. Nobody else closed.
You mean that she...
She said that she was interested in the job.
Oh.
Yeah. Everybody else, even Brenda kind of tried to give one of the candidates an out. And she's like, well, do you think this is something that you would want to do and work at? Like she was even setting her up for the close.
Right.
Right. And then one's like, anything else? They're like, no. Are you sure? Like I'm giving, this is your time to tell me I want this job.
Right.
Because if you don't say that you're interested in the job, you're not getting the job. If you don't tell them that you want it, you're not getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a couple of other variations of closing. One's kind of aggressive, or not aggressive, but very assertive.
Right.
And then, something I work with clients with, but you have to close the job, the interview. And, we talk about bad interview, or I'll tell a client, I was like, I'll get them on the phone and they'll be like, I think it went really well, Jason. And it's like, okay. And then turns out come back and see me. They sit down in the office like, I didn't get the job. I'm like, okay, did you close?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. That's why you didn't get the job. Because you didn't say that you wanted the job. Somebody else came along and said something different or let them know, I am interested in this job. And you didn't do it. You don't get the job.
And I think probably people that are watching may have been on the other side, being the interviewer,
Yeah, sure.
And where there are those moments of the person comes in, you're like, oh, I could see this working out. I can see this working out.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're putting people side by side, it's those little moments that make such a big difference.
It's also too, and sometimes it's how we phrase and ask questions.
Right.
And if you asked a question in the interview, like, if I was to get this role, what would the first 90 days look like?
Okay.
Now, what you just said was, if I was to get this role, what you're doing is you're trying to paint the picture for the interviewer seeing you in the role. If, like you just said, they may see that already.
Right.
Right? Or we had Kathy Barker on last week, our president and CEO here at JFS, and that's what she said. As we're talking, can I see myself working with this person? Would they be a fit overall for the organization?
Right.
Right? And if you can paint that picture for the interviewer and they have that idea to see you in the role, you are now winning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
There's a lot that... And this is why we have the practice interview program, because there's a lot that goes on in interviews. Not only do you need to know how to answer the questions, but you also need to keep your answers tight.
Yes.
And this is one of the things I work with clients on. I will ask them questions like, so tell me about a time you failed and what did you learn from it? And then I will sit here with the stopwatch on my phone and I'm timing them out. And they'll stop talking. I'm like, okay, that was 2 minutes. That's way too long.
Whoa.
Let's cut it down. Here's where I think you can get rid, you know what I mean? And if we're able to evoke the emotion, because that's the thing that they're going to remember, right? Just like, even though it was a bad situation and the thing that happened, you end up crying in the interview, it was a rather emotional interview.
Well, sure.
The interviewer probably has not forgotten that interview.
Oh, I can't imagine.
She probably doesn't remember your name or anything. I remember that one person. She just started crying. You know what I mean? Because it was a really emotional thing.
Right. Well, and I think after you told me you wanted to do this as a subject.
Yeah.
I chatted with my friends and asked them about, their stories or whatever. And so I got a lot of stories, but the theme of everyone's story was I didn't prepare.
I didn't prepare. That's right.
And so I mean, just taking that time, you can talk into a hairbrush in the mirror. You can talk to yourself in the car ride and practice your interview answers while you're alone in the car. You can do the VIP squared interview program. You can just sort of do that pitch, that practice, and thinking through what you're going to say out loud.
I think I often compare the interview and the questions that the interviewer could ask. It's like a test you have the answers to.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't know everything that they're going to ask. You can't.
Right.
But you do know they may ask, so Liz, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know how to answer that. They could ask, what's your greatest strength? What skill do you need improving on? Tell me about a time when you had a difficult customer. How did you handle that?
Mm-hmm.
Or tell me about a time when you disagreed with a coworker. How did you? You know some of the you know what can be asked. Right? And you need to know how to prepare and answer your questions.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think, well, they're my stories and I could do that. No, you can't. There's no winging it.
Right.
You've got to put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
The best people the people that interview the best are the people that tell the best stories.
Okay.
Because that's what's memorable.
Right.
That's what we remember and we relate to. I was working with a client and she was, I said, tell me about a time you had a difficult customer, and she was explaining and we're going, and I said to her, I'm like, we're workshopping yet. She's telling me I'm working. Paint me a picture. And it's like, as you're talking to the interviewer and saying, she was really upset and mad. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen somebody so mad that steam came out of their ears. And she laughed just like you did, because we all have that image. We've all seen that cartoon.
Right.
And it's something relatable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people remember.
Mm-hmm.
And also, that was the thing, too. It's like, people were standing in line. I don't know if you've ever stood in a line before. Of course, everybody stood in a line before, and nobody likes it. But it's relatable. And now she's got them on the hook. And now they understand the story, the dynamics. She evokes the emotion. I got goosebumps. That's how I know this is right. And that's what they remember. Right? So Liz, we are at time. So this went very fast. Thank you again so much for being on.
It was a pleasure.
The live stream and podcast today. I appreciate it. So the last question is always a fun question. And I'm gonna throw you a curveball question. Okay? There it is. If you had to, like it was like a gladiator style situation, and you had to fight a medium-sized dog, what would be your weapon of choice? And it cannot be a pistol or rifle or anything like that. You have to have like a handheld weapon. What would be your weapon of choice?
I mean, it can't just be like a Kong ball filled with peanut butter, or.
Well, you gotta fight the dog. You can't like make friends with the dog.
But I want to make friends with the dog. Okay, so let me think about this. So a bow and arrow, I have terrible aim. I'm gonna go with a net, like an old school net that you would trap the dog in.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use a spear because I can at least, kind of jab it at the dog.
But I don't want to fight a dog.
You have to fight the dog. That's the point of the. You have to fight the dog.
Well, so I actually saw a coyote on a late night walk the other day.
Did you really?
Yes, and I did not have my pepper spray with me.
Oh, God.
And so I just reached into my neighbor's yard and grabbed a handful of rocks.
Okay.
So it was like an instinct.
Just in case?
Yeah, just in case he, because I was charged by a coyote once about 3 years ago.
Oh, you really?
Yeah.
What did you do?
I threw my keys at it.
Oh, okay.
So
and it ran away?
It ran away.
Yeah.
So I was walking my small dog. But yes, I'm going to go with net because I feel like I'd be able to trap the dog.
Okay. I will accept that answer. I like that you put some thought into that one. Thank you. As Rhonda says she is there. Thanks, Rhonda. See you. Next week, Next week, I'm going to have Jeff Klein on. Jeff Klein is a speaking consultant, and he is going to, we're going to talk about how to do the elevator pitch correctly so that when somebody says, tell me a little bit about yourself, you know how to answer that correctly. So this has been Caffeinate, your career for this week. We'll see you next week. Bye.